Hey, what's up? Welcome back to ZFK Talks. I'm back in the ice box that is Canada, but there is no disappointment because there's freedom in the air. Today, I want to talk about my one-for-one experience with the Freedom Convoy 2022 of Canada. When this whole movement kind of started out, it was a bit of a turbulent time in my life when I was deciding between do I go back to Canada or do I stay in Mexico. For those of you that don't know, I actually left Canada in October of 2021 on the last day that you could in order to evade the vaccine passports. And for me, I seen this coming for a long time. They were kind of coming down on different ways to coerce people into getting the thing. And, they want to play hardball. They want to tell you what you can and can't do and to sit down and shut up and put on your mask and obey the orders. And then on top of that, we're paying exorbitant taxes in Canada, all to be berated by our own government. So to me, the reason why I left, it just wasn't right that they want to set up all these hoops and stuff for you to jump through and then not give you an option to leave the country if you're not going to play by their rules and their game. That is why I left. So when I was in Mexico, I did have to make a decision to leave and come back to Canada, and it was a very difficult time, but at the same time, I always believe in there being a reason behind why we take certain paths in life, and things may or may not be expected or unexpected. And I mean, coming to Mexico was kind of sure. I decided on 20 days notice was how much time the government gave us for notice as far as flying. But I knew I was going to come to Mexico pretty much most of the year, starting like January, February 2021, because of the prolonged lockdowns. I said, with everything in my power, I'm not ever letting them lock me down in my house again. And if that means moving away, I will. So I kind of planned to go to Mexico all year, and then it was like that whole flight mandate thing for passports was just like, okay. So I'm just going to flip on a dime in 20 days notice. I was going soon anyways. I'm just going to cut all the ties and go now. But here I am, back, alas. So I keep on getting sidetracked, but like I said, I was pretty much getting ready to leave Mexico. And what happened was this whole trucker convoy thing gets started. And, all the protests and stuff so far in most countries in Canada just continue to be ignored by the mainstream media. They downplay it. They tell you there's only a couple people there, or they don't even cover it. So I had my doubts when it started, and it seemed over just within days, less than a week, it just grew exponentially. I was watching the groups on Facebook grow by thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, watching the GoFundMe donations explode from around $1 million to almost $7-8 million in like 2 or 3 days following that day. And it became apparent to me that maybe this is it. This is going to be the movement and the fight that maybe we'll actually win. And so I started really paying attention to it, and it was just really, really cool to me to see. And videos start coming out of the first couple trucks coming through and under the highway passes, and there was support everywhere. It was like, I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own eyes. I left Canada because I lost faith that we were capable of this. And it was just crazy. It sucks to be someone that has been so proud of their country and so proud to grow up here, and within less than a 2-year period, I had given up all faith that we had the ability to live rationally and go back to some sort of sense of normalcy. The infighting and all of the division that's been conjured up by Justin Trudeau, all other politicians within the Canadian Parliament, the Liberal Party most guilty of it. They have been playing a mind game with us in Canada and in other countries, and pitting us against each other and making us hate our fellow neighbor, our fellow family, because we have different opinions, and it's unacceptable. And really, it was just, I again could not believe it looked like finally people were coming to meet in a middle ground, and it was really beautiful to see. What I actually had happen to me too was again, this is all starting to become so real, very surreal to see. And the morning I needed to leave Mexico and go to the airport, I remember waking up and having almost no time to scroll through Facebook, Instagram, whatever I was going to do, whatever waste of time I was about to indulge in. And I seen this video that I vividly remember, and I will post it right up over here as I talk about it. And it's an overpass with trucks all lined up down the side. There's kids sitting there looking over the overpass. It's full of people, full of Canadian flags. Trucks are driving by and honking, and there's literally white and red fireworks shooting off above the highway. And Black Eyed Peas' Where Is the Love is on. Oh, and I'm sitting there in bed, and I'm not like sad per se that I'm leaving Mexico. I was actually quite relieved because of some things that are going on in my life at that time. But I remember just sitting there and bawling my eyes out at like just how awesome this was to see, and like the reunification, and it just spoke to me so hard and basically had me thinking, it's really like played a lot of a toll on my mental well-being. This whole guard up, walls up all the time, everywhere you go, people want to ask if you're for this or for that with COVID, lockdowns or not. Oh, stay away from me. Oh, your opinions suck. This, whatever. God forbid you get into the vaccine conversation. People would, they just get so defensive and ask you, like, why would you do that, you selfish prick? And it's just like, dude, I don't have to give you a reason. You know what I mean? Especially for something that has such a low likeliness of killing you. I just wasn't willing to participate, or at least I wanted to wait. But, the way the government has been so shady over the last year or so, and so pushy with their agenda to get this into the arm of everyone, that just really made me dig my heels in and say, this is a stand. I'm not going to do it, So that brings me to like, what was the purpose of this whole convoy? Like, what do the truckers stand for? And I guess just like a couple of things aside, there's all kinds of different rumors about like the organizers and whatnot, but it really became bigger than the people that started it. Like, really the catalyst for the movement was the passport mandate for Canadian truckers to pass in and out of the States with goods. They had to be vaccinated. And in turn, the United States with Joe Biden decided to put that in as well, after we did it first in Canada. So pretty much anyone that wanted to bring freight and goods over the border could not do it if they're a trucker, if they're unvaccinated, which is a little bit crazy because they hardly come in contact with anybody and they stay in their cabins for the most part. So I guess that was a catalyst for why it started. But what were like the main objectives, really? No more masks, no more lockdowns, no more unfair vaccine passports, etc., etc., etc. Those are really the main objectives. And unfortunately, we have a political prime minister leader, quote unquote, let me roll my eyes, leader, that could not even muster up an ounce of energy to meet with these people and try and find some sort of common ground in the middle. So that brings me to my first of 2 trips to Ottawa during the Freedom Convoy. I guess this would just be my brief recount, but basically I drove up there with my friend Nick. We stay in Gatineau overnight, and I'm just going to fast forward a little bit before I bring it back. We go to Ottawa, we park far away, we walk in, and it's like, you can just hear like this ominous sound of just like, and as you get closer and closer, it starts to turn into the sound of horns, just like non-stop, big truck horns, big rigs. And it was really like a neat, surreal kind of thing to see, especially knowing what we were walking into and why we were there. And I seen a lot of stuff down there, a lot of trucks, a lot of decaled custom cars that weren't trucks, all kinds of protest messaging, free food left and right all over the place. People were totally just putting it on the line, making free pizzas with like wood ovens and sandwiches, pasta, whatever they needed to keep on fueling the belly of this movement. And even when we did get down there, we got to meet some of the truckers and, thank them personally for putting their neck out on the line for the rest of us. Overall, just a general sense of unity, I guess. Like, everyone there was for the same reason. You've seen people from all different walks of life, but it wasn't like a very busy day. So really, I think the two of us got in there. We got around. We talked to a couple people. We got some pictures. Did a bit of exploring because, personally, I hadn't been to Wellington in front of Parliament or Ottawa in general since about the 8th grade. So it was a totally fresh experience for me. And overall, yeah, it went pretty good. But the thing that happened prior to getting to Ottawa, when we stayed in Gatineau overnight, where I'll bring it back for a sec, is I remember being there and about to go to sleep, and I was pretty excited to go see this Freedom Convoy in Ottawa that I've been watching unfold for a couple weeks. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, someone needs to document the faces of this movement, because the media doesn't portray things as they should be. The media wants to put a spin on things and pretend that everyone there's a Nazi or a white supremacist or a racist, no good, this, that, whatever. And I knew that wasn't what I was going to see. I don't trust our media. I know what they're up to, and I know who funds them. So with that said, I thought to myself, I wish I had my camera here, my strobe. I could get some awesome portraits and show the flags and the smiles and the love and the good vibes and everything. And I remember sitting there 7 hours away from home, laying in bed, trying to go to sleep. And I'm like, you fool. You didn't bring none of your stuff. You didn't think this through. You just wanted to go see it with your own eyes. You didn't think about the big picture. So I was kind of kicking myself, and I must have tossed and turned for 2 hours, it felt like. And then we went to Ottawa. So pretty much I knew I had to go back to Ottawa. I knew I got to have my little leisure trip and go check it out and see it, but I knew I was going to have to go back, and there was unsettled business. So I went home for a bit and kind of prayed and put my hands together. I'm like, please, let this continue to go on for at least a little while. And sure enough, it did. So I ended up organizing a little trip with Nick again. A friend of mine, Kayla, she also does photography, so she kind of slotted right in there. I was like, perfect. I think she didn't invite herself, but she basically reached out and said she wanted to come, and I was like, perfect, you're the one, you gotta come. And yeah, so that is where the Fringe Minority Faces campaign kind of came together. It came right from the horse's mouth, Justin Trudeau, funny enough, gets COVID right before this whole thing arrives in Ottawa, shelters for a little while to quarantine. And, these protests go on for probably 2-3 days before he ever comes out and addresses it. One of the biggest protests in Ottawa history. And the guy comes out and doesn't try to meet in the middle, doesn't try to address it, doesn't say nothing, and basically addresses these people with the worst words he could find. They're a bunch of fringe minority people holding unacceptable views who are often also racist and misogynist individuals. Give me a break. So thank God I went out there to go and document it and show what was really going on there. And again, like I said, showing the flags, the unity, the love, just that awesome Canadianness that I haven't seen in so long, because we've all just been infighting for the last 2 years. And so really, I guess the campaign was just my way of doing my part. I couldn't be within 12, 15 hours of this city knowing what's going on and not show up and go and try and document it for myself, and weave myself into that piece of Canadian heritage moment history. So it was really, again, just kind of doing my part. And street photography is really neat too, because you're jumping around from person to person, and then you don't know them, they don't know you, but you have to convince them that they should let you take their picture. And that's basically how it is, You just gotta throw your smile on. You're like, hey, how are you? I'm documenting the faces of the fringe minority movement. Make it all positive and just, disassociate yourself from the media and let them know that you're one of the good guys and you're there with them. So that's basically what I did, and probably 9 out of 10 people were down to take pictures. Must have taken pictures of at least 100 plus people, truckers, you name it. And yeah, just again, it was such a cool experience to meet these random people and hear what they had to say. And whether the interaction was short, brief, or long, all of it was good vibes, good times. And we basically did that all Friday, which was good. There's a lot more room. And then when we went on Saturday, it was just like packed everywhere you went. Especially main stage right in front of Wellington. Just craziness and honking for as long as you could possibly imagine everywhere. Parking garage parties, honking in the parking garages. We just had a blast, and even though it was freezing, we were still there for a good reason. And into the nighttime, I just remember feeling like a sense of like happiness and kind of like accomplishment, and I was just so happy to be there. And we jumped around from little street rave to street rave and just soaking in the vibes and seeing all the people from all walks of life and creed coming together, enjoying beverages, enjoying food, enjoying the music, dancing. Like it was it felt like a new chapter was opening in my life, and I felt like a certain level of like trauma was being healed by this collective energy of these people coming together. And like I just felt like a true sense of like happiness to be there that I haven't felt in a long time. And it was good. It was very liberating in a way. So pretty much I think by this point I probably let a bunch of the faces show up on screen so you guys could see them. I will leave in the description a link to the full Facebook album, so you can check out all the uncut shots. But I guess at this point I kind of want to switch from my experience to kind of some of the other things I had noted here on my paper. Again, the political reaction to all this is just ludicrous. They treated these peaceful Canadians that love their freedom like they were terrorists, and decided we're not going to negotiate with these bad people. We're going to call them names. We're going to do everything we can to discredit the movement. And it got worse. It got worse. It was the Trudeau government continuing to stir the pot and create more divisiveness. There was no negotiation. There was no meeting in the middle. It got to the point where Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, which is an old piece of legislation that was originally for world wars and domestic war or whatever. That hasn't happened in Canada. But it's really like a sacred thing that you're not supposed to touch unless you need it. And they didn't need it. This was a peaceful protest. There wasn't violence. They decided to invoke it anyways, and that whole government decided to pretty much get in there and scare people, try to get them out. They still wouldn't leave. They started threatening with economic might and saying, listen, we'll freeze your bank account if we don't like what you're doing. And even that could apply to me. Sure, I didn't make a donation because I'm broke, but I spent my hard-earned money to go down there and show the world what was going on. So hypothetically, if they wanted to go far enough with it, they could have frozen my bank account because I was down there as a free press deciding to positively shine a light on these guys, which is like super, super not right and very scary. With these emergency orders, what they ended up doing before they had I believe a third-party weekend, they decided to put together the largest police operation that Canada has ever seen. And they mobilized hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of police to slowly walk in the perimeter of this protest and pretty much try and squeeze everyone out. And because I wasn't there, I bounced between live streams all day, and I did mainstream ones, I did independent press, Viva Frey, Press for Truth, Shots by Hill, just to name a few. And like from all the different vantage points I had for 2 days of basically watching an unhealthy amount of these live streams, I felt like I was really there. And I did see like a lot of stuff. I seen people get batoned by police. I seen people get pepper sprayed. I seen people get hit with gun butts. Everyone's seen the horse cavalry running over an old lady and someone else, which is just disgusting. I don't know why they sent horses through a crowd of people for any other reason besides to hurt them. Yeah, there was just, it wasn't a good day in Canada. It was really like a sad, sad day in Canada. And even with all of the brutality that these Canadians, these freedom fighters were facing, they faced it with peace. I didn't see anyone on the live streams hurting any police officers or anything. Everything was all good, which is really, really interesting to see. And it sets a good example for other large-scale protests like this down the road in Canada and elsewhere. Opinion. And yeah, so, you know, they did get cleared out. The party on Saturday night of the last Saturday of the protests still did rage on, despite the police trying to make it end. But at some point, probably around 3-4 a.m. on that night, when everyone cleared out, that is when the perimeters were finally closed. They cleared the streets and got the trucks out of there. Again, you know my stance on it. I don't think it was right. I don't think it's the right way to go about it. It's too bad it didn't go on for a couple more weeks. It would have been great. And, you know, I do sympathize with the residents of Ottawa. I get that the honking's brutal. But you know what? They as long as they kept it between work hours, like what else are you going to do? It's a way of protesting that seemed to be pretty effective. And, you know, all the stuff about people being, you know, verbally assaulted, stolen from in the streets, you name it, or shutting down their businesses out of fear of crazy protesters being there, I think like 99.5% of the time is bullshit. Like I've seen almost all the businesses down there were open. All of them had people inside without masks, which was great to see. And they were all probably doing like record sales. So like really it was pretty much a net positive. And if anything, the police red zone that ensued after the protests to ensure that a new protest didn't start probably inconvenienced people a magnitude more than the protesters ever did. Most of it is down by Parliament, and most people don't live until a few blocks in. So, you know, that whole crazy party truck zone, I just don't see why they would invoke an emergency order for any other reason besides a political emergency for themselves. So yeah, pretty much I've got a bunch of stuff here on my paper. It was really, really inspiring to see how Canadians were leading a worldwide movement that seemed to be sparked. There was convoys going in Australia and other European countries, and now in March of 2022 we have a massive, massive convoy starting in the United States. I think this is a big reason why Trudeau invoked the emergency order to break this up. He probably had the Americans on his hump saying, listen, these guys are having way too much success in your country. They're making rumbles around the world, and we do not want this happening in the United States. So that is probably why Justin Trudeau invoked the emergency order, to get these people out of their way, show them who's boss, and show them that they shouldn't be protesting peacefully, so that it wouldn't, so it would make a deterrent that no one should be protesting like that ever again. So after making a quick cut to wrap it all up, I just want to say that although the protests of Ottawa have been cleared out, we are not near the end. This is just a lost battle and a long war that we the people will win. The political elite are scared shitless. They see that we're finally starting to smell the roses and come together and start to demand a change to this bullshit. And, you know, this will be another video for another time. If you're not conditioned to what these truths are already, it can really kind of be disturbing and a lot to take in. But ultimately, everything in my belief in the world is some sort of theater. And we can't give up the momentum now. after all we've been through. We need to get our freedoms back. And I can't say exactly how it all works or why it's this way, but it seems awfully peculiar to me that there is a war going on in Eastern Europe right now. Immediately after kind of these freedom protests spark up and get ousted in Canada, and as they start to crop up in other countries, like I said. I think that this is a kind of a time news event, and God bless everyone in Ukraine, and rest in peace to those that have passed away so far. I feel like Ukraine is kind of caught in the crosshairs of a grand scheme to distract the world from what is going on in terms of us fighting for our freedom. And it's terrible that Ukraine happens to be the country that's stuck in the middle of that. Now, we do have to remember too that, you know, there has always been tensions there. There has always been military presence. So it is just awfully odd to me. I think that this has a lot to do, as well as COVID, with maintaining the power of the traditional banks and establishment whilst shuffling it over to a new system of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs for short, and other crypto technologies. These different digital tokens for each central bank of each country can be used to block your payments, give you allowances for certain things you're allowed to buy, and effectively track every single thing that you purchase or trade. It all comes back to these digital IDs, digital currencies, and kind of like a social credit system, Chinese style. So without getting into it too deep, I just wanted to talk about, you know, the good people of the freedom movement, of the Freedom Convoy, how I went down there and did my part to document the Fringe minority faces. And yeah, I just wanted to say, like I said a couple minutes ago, don't give up the momentum. Get your Canadian flags out, put them on your vehicles, let people know that you're part of the movement, and just be vocal, guys. Like, you know, we can't stop now, and we have to make sure that we regain all of our freedoms in full. There can be no more room for a COVID emergency. All of it needs to be repealed, because otherwise, like we are in Ontario and Quebec, Alberta, etc., dropping the masks, dropping the vaccine passports and such, as long as there's an emergency order in effect, they can still bring these things back next year. It's not scientific. Look at Quebec. Quebec was one of the most draconian provinces of Canada, and when I was about to get home from Mexico, they were seriously talking about taxing the unvaccinated for being bad people and putting a strain on the healthcare system. As the protests go on, less than a month later, they're doing full 180 because they don't want to be stuck on the wrong side of history. They're getting rid of masks in a lot of places. They're not doing the unvax tax. They're getting rid of the passport system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to keep pushing. We have to get our freedoms back. I'm not going to say it for the 18th time, but let's get our freedoms back. Guys, it's been another episode of ZFK Talks. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment too. That helps get engagement up. Really appreciate it if you made it this far. And keep on fighting the good fight. We will get there, and we're going to get back to normalcy at some point if we the people demand it. Peace out. Enjoy your day, guys. Bye.